Welcome back, tech heads and gadget gurus. It's another episode of Tech Times Daily. And again, we're going to dive into the world of tech and everything related. As always, I'm Chris. I'll be your host for today. And with me once again is Christian. How's it going, man?
Hey everyone, still burning here.
We got a
World's
pretty
gonna
good.
end.
Yeah, it's been on fire for about a decade now. But we got a pretty good topic, I think, today, man. As parents, this kind of hits home, and albeit I only have one child, and she hasn't been this small in a long time. But yeah, so let's get right into this now because I'm curious about your opinion. So with an article from Jace, uh, children as young as 5 are excuse me, children as young as 5 are using the internet, prompting UK Ofcom to launch a consultation. The UK's regulatory authority, Ofcom, is launching a consultation in response to the growing trend of children as young as 5 engaging with the internet. This move comes amid concerns over the potential risk posed to children online, and they are exploring the role of AI and automated tools in safeguarding young users. The consultation aims to assess the current and potential future applications of technologies and identifying and removing illicit content online, particularly to shield children from harmful material and to detect sexual abuse imagery. We've got a quote here from the report. Quote, the research suggests a disconnect between older children's exposure to potentially harmful content online and what they share with their parents about their online experiences. Now, this is what I want to talk to you about. A third, or 32% of kids between 8 and 17 years old say they have seen something worrying or nasty online in the last 12 months, but only 20% of parents of this age group report their child telling them they had seen something online that scared or upset them in the same time frame. So, Christian, what do you think, man? Is 5 too young to be on the internet?
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old, I guess. I guess. But I have a 5-year-old. Like we were talking about this off camera. I did tell you the story where I suddenly found out that he was able to actually input his own fingerprint on my phone and activate it.
Oh, wow.
Like the kids are becoming smart to the technology at an early age now.
Mm,
Maybe because of the exposure seeing it from the parents. Like we've discussed a couple of episodes ago, are kids any more curious now? And is and what more breeds curiosity than them actually seeing things that are being done by their parents? In terms of the online stuff, like how they actually search, we made accessibility on the internet so easy that even a kid could actually use it.
right. Right. Yeah. I don't know that 5 is too young, right? Like, because the internet's here to stay. The internet is something that, and I probably say this every episode, is something that we have to learn to use. And I feel like the earlier you learn to use it, just the more efficient you will be, right? Now, I think the issue comes in with unsupervised use, right? Or
Yeah,
using YouTube as a babysitter.
I
You
think
know,
that's
you
the
got to
majority
monitor
of
your kids.
parents now, right?
Yeah, you got to monitor your kids, man. You have to. You have to limit screen time. You have to go through the rigorous steps of setting up parental controls. Like you have to do these things if you're going to allow your very young children to, because I mean, it doesn't take much. Even a typo can send a child to a part of the internet that they need not be.
Yeah, and I feel like having YouTube actually babysit their kids would actually affect their attention span because my kids right now has been showing some symptoms where they keep changing the videos they're actually watching even before the video actually ends. So just the
Mhm.
availability for them to actually control things I think shortens the attention spans of these kids, and they already have very short attention spans at that age.
Right.
In terms of the dangers and securities of the internet, like these kids are becoming more and more savvy when it comes to using technology. And I think the major problem is if you are dumber than your kid when it comes to these things.
Yeah,
Like, do you
I mean,
understand
you know,
what I mean? Like, there are certain things that kids now know with how to use social media, how to use the internet at that early of an age that sometimes parents don't aren't even aware of that are possible.
yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I've learned things from my daughter, you know, where she's like, Dad, you like she sent me this thing a few weeks ago and I was really confused because I thought it was one thing. And then she's like, no, this is solely for school. And I was like, oh, I didn't it's like it's like a platform for assignments and things for like remote learning.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Normally I can like figure it out, you know what I'm saying? I was like, how I don't even know how you work this. And she had to like walk me through it.
To them right now, since pretty much they were born with the internet, like unlike us, we actually
Yeah,
grew up with There's a difference to that. Like being born with something like the internet, it's everything's pretty standard to you. Like
right.
us, we had to learn by experience of who we
Hmm.
interact with, someone to actually teach us. They are pretty ballsy when it comes to actually learning stuff that are deemed normal now. So that's even more dangerous because they are not going to be seeking adult supervision when they're going to be doing these things. And another thing that kids now actually have that we weren't aware of, they have their own language now when it comes to accessing these things.
Hmm.
So it's a bit harder as a parent to actually monitor a kid online.
Right. And you know, I think we have alluded to this multiple times on this podcast that, you know, it's the parenting that's important, right? Like, I mean, it's no well, it's different. I mean, like the internet now, it's just the exposure is so much there's such a higher opportunity for exposure. Whereas when we were kids, what maybe especially when it comes to like sexual stuff, right? Like I know as a kid, it was like your friends, your friend found his dad's Playboys. You know what I mean? That's about as much as it got. Or
Yeah.
some older kid telling you, you know, about the birds and the bees, and come to find out years later, had no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But
Like if a
that
bird
was
fucked a bee, it's an ugly baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like that was our level of exposure. You know what I mean? Like, and even then, it was up to the parents to. That's why you have to have the talk, right? Because they're going to hear crazy shit from friends and older kids, and you know. But now, God, you got the internet and Instagram, and there's no guarantees that you know what your kid is. You know, you think they're watching, you know, toy reviews on YouTube, and
Yeah.
it's a toy review, but it's a completely different kind of toy.
It's been an issue in YouTube a few years back regarding COPA, the protection of the kids when it comes to YouTube, because there are
Mm-hmm.
instances where you thought your kid was watching Spider-Man and it was a completely different video. Like people have been using kids as a means to get views because I think among the number one subscribed channel online on YouTube, they are mostly for kids, like Pink Fong, which is Baby Shark.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Coco Melon. Like these are the in the hundred millions when it comes to subscribers. Like
Right.
also advertisers actually know there's money in this. Like they will skirt every opportunity or skirt the law even just to get access to these eyes and get access
Right.
to revenues, which just
Yeah.
makes things even more scarier.
Yeah.
So as a parent, what can you do regarding these things? Like the best I could do is people think of the YouTube stuff as something somewhat of parenting. I think no longer parenting. It's just you're substituting the attention of your kids.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
is it any different from an absentee parent handing a kid a phone?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, you may be there physically, but you're not even really there, right? Like
Yeah.
you're depending on, I mean,
It's not
it's
even babysitting. Like usually a babysitter gets your kids' attention but still takes care of them. This you're getting their attention on another thing, but letting them take care of themselves. Basically, in layman's terms, that's neglect.
well, I mean, we use that term like it was used when I was a kid too. Like, you pop in a movie and just
Yeah.
let your kid sit in front of the TV, and it's like you can go do whatever it is you have to do versus the opposite of not having something to catch their attention. And then, like, you're trying to, I don't know, clean the oven. And then you have this
Yeah.
5-year-old like around your feet.
The main difference with the phone and the internet and popping in a CD or a DVD, the kids won't be operating that unit.
Right. And yeah, that's all that's on there is whatever's on the DVD. That's all
Yeah.
that's there.
But
Yeah.
now bring in the internet, they now have choice. And if they can operate to that choice, they could probably see unsavory stuff online that they shouldn't be seeing.
Right. So, I guess the point here is like Ofcom has it says about 24% of, and I guess this is primarily in England, if not Europe as a whole, maybe just, I'm not sure if it's the UK. I guess it is the UK, but it says around 24% of 5 to 7 year olds own a smartphone and 76% use a tablet. Like that's really high number.
Yeah. What's the
Like
population of the UK?
25% of 5 to 7 year olds own a smartphone? For what?
Yeah, you would think the purpose of the smartphone are for adults owning it.
I mean, it's 100%. You know what I think a lot of it is because mom and dad want to sit on their smartphone and they don't want to share because we're just as addicted to everything that's on there as a 5-year-old would be.
Yeah,
You know, you don't want to share your phone with your kids. You just don't. You don't want to share your phone with anybody.
because it can't be peer pressure at age 5.
Well, it's the parent is pressured.
Into
It's
giving the
like
kid a phone.
it's like I got to give them a phone or they're going to want mine all the time,
Have parents just become pussies now that they can't actually say no?
bro. I don't know when I don't even know when the last time I told my daughter no.
Really?
It's been a long time ago for sure. But she don't be asking for that much shit though, so it ain't no big deal. But still, it's just not something like I don't know if you feel like a hypocrite because you say no, you can't do this, and then here you are doing it because people 40, 50, however many years old, we also want to scroll. You know what I mean? Like you do. We're all addicted to it, every one of us. And um just giving your kid their own just makes life a lot easier. Because if not, you're gonna have to fight with this little asshole every time you wanna play a game or
Yeah.
scroll through some reels. You're gonna have an argument on your hands every time.
That's why I've learned actually pretty early on since my first child to actually set boundaries when it comes to the use of these technologies. Like I've set times regarding when they can use it. The same way we set times for them for their sleep time,
Right.
right? You can only hold a phone during the weekends after you've done your homework. Like these are the rules that parents usually set.
Hmm.
You don't usually give them something just because you can't say no. You're a parent. Like if you can't say no, what
It
else are you gonna say yes to? If you can't
right.
say no to a kid,
Right. Yeah, no,
even
you
as
make
an
a good point.
adult, if you can't actually one up your kid, what type of an adult are you?
Yeah.
I can understand your case. You can't say no to your kid now because she's already grown.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah, I know, not me. Yeah, no, I used to tell her no all the time. I mean, we had those fights, but it wasn't, you know, 10 years ago, it wasn't common for every single child, almost 75%, to have some type of gadget when she was 5 or 6 years old.
I guess it's just
I mean,
become the
I
norm.
had an iPod when she was that old, and she loved playing with my iPod, even though it wasn't nothing special. It was just music on there. And
Can we take into account that the accessibility of these devices and the price range now that it's much lower actually allows parents to actually do this?
oh, absolutely,
Because I
absolutely,
figured if your kids are actually just asking you iPhones, you wouldn't be giving your kid a $600 phone
right. And
because
now you see
she's
tablets.
asking.
I see so many kids carrying around like their own tablet. You know what I'm saying? It's got the little plastic like insert thing on the tablet with
Yeah,
like the handles and stuff. Yeah. See so many kids with these things.
to
And
whack something to whack their play date with.
yeah. Well, something for them to argue over. Yeah. And then, when the battery dies, that was the big thing with my daughter when she was younger was she couldn't, no matter what it was, iPod or
Jesus,
laptop, it didn't matter.
the, i-
She
iPad
could,
back in the 2010s can't even hold a charge for 2 hours.
yeah, she couldn't comprehend the fact that we have to charge it. You can't carry it around anymore. The battery is dead. And then it would go off, and she's like, "Turn it back on," and I can't. We have to wait a couple hours. That was that was uh the largest issue that her and I had was just her not comprehending battery. But I wasn't worried about her, um, being approached by some weirdo online or stumbling upon something or being sent something from, a friend who has a jackass older brother. So I wasn't really worried about that stuff. And now I'm glad I don't have to worry about her, like, because she's old enough now where she gets it. I mean, we've talked about it. And that's something too, I think, as important, like for in our generation, right? It was the birds and the bees talk for the most part. Like that was the awkward moment of like one of your first really awkward moments is talking to your mom or dad about this sex, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. Now, I mean, you got to have the talk about, be careful what you say, be careful what you put online, be careful where you look, be careful, like there's so many, and these are all very awkward topics to have with a, you know 10, 12, 13-year old child, but they're completely necessary as the birds and the bees talk.
Yeah, I guess me and my wife had an agreement early on that we would never actually provide these technologies to the kids unless we think they're actually responsible. Like I have an 11-year-old right now. She has her own phone, but the thing
Mhm.
is she doesn't have her own number.
So
So
no SIM card.
we took out the SIM card. She could just use it for internet and stuff. But then we actually didn't give her any social media accounts. We actually forbade that thing until we can
So
actually judge that she's actually responsible enough to judge what she sees online,
so what
has
does
a
she
good
use it for?
understanding. Just watching YouTube. Basically,
Ah,
that's it.
YouTube.
And the YouTube account is actually synced to my account, so I could actually see the history of what she's actually watching. So if I see anything unsavory on the history, I could probably talk with her regarding explaining this is what you watch, this is why it's bad. Please don't
Mm,
do this again. Like, although I'm still handing her a phone, I'm still doing parenting.
right.
So that's the only safeguard that I have. As parents, we can only adjust to what the technology brings, not just to us but to our kids. So they're
Mm,
going to be growing up with this stuff that they're actually born with, that are readily available to them. And like I said, accessibility actually makes it much harder
yeah.
because
And
there
I
is
mean,
always that temptation to be a nice parent to spoil your kid. Because everyone has that tendency. Like
yeah.
as strict as I am, sometimes I actually do spoil them. If they do well in school, they request something, usually give them.
Yeah, the remote learning also kind of opened the door to this, right? Like,
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much contributed to the fact that kids are much more savvy now because they have to.
Yeah. Like prior to that, right? It's like, online time could be, a couple hours in the evening, or like you said, if you've done really well, okay, you can go online and watch some videos for a few hours. But now it's like, as a parent, we don't even have a choice. It's like she's got to be online because she has class today, or
Yeah.
there's some homework that has to be done. So now she's on there. And unless you're going to be, one of those helicopter parents, then it's really up to how you teach them, what to do. And it's not going to be full. Can you imagine yourself at 13 years old with unlimited access to the internet? Could you imagine? Like my parents were good, right? My mom
Yeah.
was on it. My dad was very blunt and very you know, straightforward on a lot of things. Um Internet wasn't one of those things, and because it just wasn't around. But a 12-year-old me or a 13-year-old me with those couple of kids that I were my best friends then, bro, it would have been game over, man. And we're no different than kids today are no different than what we were.
Yeah, but I think at least speaking for myself, like I told you this story, right? Like I didn't have a phone from 2015 up to 2023, right?
Okay.
I didn't own a phone back then. I was able to actually adapt that because it was never actually available to me from the start when I was born. So I
Right.
am aware of the time when these technologies weren't actually available and I can actually live my life without it. Like imagine the kids now just not having Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, but yeah, you didn't have a phone, but you had internet.
They have the internet, like, but the study is regarding smartphones, kids owning them. Like I
No,
never actually had any desire to own it. Even when
actually,
when phones were actually being developed with a mobile phone, we didn't even have smartphones back then. It wasn't actually a necessity to me to have one, or I never actually desired to have one. Now kids need it just because it's actually a part of the landscape for them.
yeah, well, it's a social status too. Like
Yeah.
when 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 last year, or no, I guess it was earlier this year, um, I had made a deal with my daughter, her first year of high school. I said, if you do really well, I'll get you an iPhone. She had a phone already, but it wasn't an iPhone. And um she did really well. So I got her an iPhone. And just having a phone is not enough. Like she said, like getting the iPhone, she told me it's like that has changed my life. Like now, like I don't know. It's just, because I guess it comes with, I don't know, maybe it comes with the confidence boost, or it's just
Mhm.
one of those things, right? Where like if, like new shoes, right? New shoes make you feel better. New clothes make you feel better. If you have a top of the line these days smartphone, then you're just naturally going to feel better about yourself.
Yeah, I think it's just the difference of generation, what we feel better about.
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
I
Yeah.
figured what my life wouldn't actually change just because I have a phone.
Right, 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 right. But yeah, my point is that it's like it's a social status now more than
Yeah, it
anything.
is.
It's a status symbol.
And I can understand your kids. She's actually pretty young. She would probably need socialization.
Well,
Like
yeah, I mean
us
she's in high school, bro. Like, yeah.
us old people actually had enough socialization in our lives to actually
Yeah.
want a bit more or less interaction. But
Right,
then
right,
going
right.
back to the study, like it's interesting. They are thinking of using AI to actually take care of
Uh,
this, like to do safeguards about it. Funny thing about AI, sometimes it's a villain, sometimes it's the hero.
well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if, this is a one place, one area where AI could really be of benefit to society. Because I mean, especially when it comes to video content, right? Like images, video content, um, and as it improves, as it advances, and AI becomes better, and companies, learn better ways to incorporate it. it's going to be a really, really, really big help to, you know, 'cause like, parental controls, right? Like right now, parental controls, you can go in and turn them off. If your kid's smart
Yep.
enough, they can just go in there and turn them off. Um, uh, but with AI, maybe that won't be a possibility.
Yeah, and the thing about this is, like we've discussed the smartphones and how it affects kids just owning it.
Mm,
Like I think the bigger discussion should be had are the apps on these smartphones that are actually available, because the kids that I've been seeing using TikTok,
mm,
particularly with some very cringy and very disturbing content in it, are getting younger
right.
and younger and younger.
True.
And sometimes you see even the parents are in the background watching them record the videos.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's this acceptance, this general acceptance, I think, is becoming an issue where
It's
um
chilling to me that the sexualization of kids are being normalized by their own parents.
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, that's a ugh. Yeah, that's an issue in and of itself for sure.
Like,
But yeah, I'm curious as to what the viewers think here. Like I mean, is 5 with let's word it like this. Let's pose the question like this. With all these safety nets in place, precautions, is 5 just too young to be online? Like, let's remove the fact that, oh, maybe they're going to see this, or maybe, someone's going to do this. Just online in general I feel like 5 is just too young. So let us know what you guys think. And, you know, hopefully AI can catch up to all the shit that we're dealing with as a society and make things a little easier rather than just being like a threat constantly, like AI is doing this, AI is doing this, AI is doing this. Like, hopefully it's like, oh, thank God AI did this eventually. But yeah, final thoughts, man, on the topic.
yeah, just watch your kids. Like all these technologies are available to actually make lives easier, but that doesn't mean you have to be absent.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. Yeah. Parent your kids, basically. So I guess the message today. It's okay to have a babysitter, but you still need a parent. Well, that wraps up today's edition of Tech Times Daily. Again, we'll be back tomorrow with more updates and insightful discussion. So until then, stay curious and stay connected. I'm Chris Short for Christian Taharis. See you next time.